On this Monday night, a prescription aimed at easing pressure on the healthcare system. The new powers for Ontario pharmacists.
The main benefit is for the patient.
The province following suit and when. A Saskatchewan couple's dream wedding turns into a nightmare with Sunwing.
Like almost in a daze, like felt numb.
Their heartbreaking journey to the altar. Deadly airstrike. Russia's new setback in its war in Ukraine. And Northern California's catastrophe.
It was like Mother Nature came alive and declared war.
The devastation from ferocious floods.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Sonia Sunger.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. A major new change to healthcare in Ontario could help ease the burden of long wait times. Patients can now skip the doctor's office and get a prescription right from the pharmacy for 13 common ailments. Several other provinces have a similar system in place, but as Vella reports, it's unclear if it will actually reduce the strain.
For nearly 25 years, Meta Nahla has been working as a pharmacist, providing consultations to customers.
Eye infection, allergy, fever, pain. This is the most common thing.
For those conditions, he was only able to recommend over-the-counter medications, but that all changed as of January 1st. Pharmacists in Ontario are now able to prescribe medication for 13 common medical ailments, including pink eye, cold sores, tick bites, UTIs, and other conditions.
It's better because it will give us more varieties to give the patient.
According to the Canadian Pharmacists Association, Ontario is the latest jurisdiction to expand pharmacist services for minor conditions. BC will follow suit later in 2023. Nunavut and Northwest Territories are the only two jurisdictions not offering these kinds of services. The expanded services in Ontario comes at a time when Canada's healthcare system is experiencing serious strain, with overcrowded ERs and a shortage of family doctors.
It's really important to create capacity in the healthcare system, helping to address and alleviate the backlog within primary care, as well as emergency departments.
But some experts say it's too soon to tell if this will reduce the pressure on the healthcare system.
The fact is that this has been put on pharmacists in Ontario at times when they are also working to their capacity. And so how the patient flows change is actually one of the really important things to study and evaluate after these changes happen.
The main benefit is for the patient.
Nahla says he still encourages people to visit their doctors, but for those who can't,
if they don't find a walk-in clinic, or if the hospital is busy, or a day like today, most of the places are closed.
It's just another way to assist those seeking treatment in Ontario. Many Ontario pharmacists say they are ready to begin now, and the Ontario Pharmacists Association says the rollout will continue in the coming weeks, and people should contact their pharmacies ahead of time just to make sure they will be offering these services. I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Erica. That's Vella in Toronto. Canada's ban on foreign home buyers is now in effect. Commercial enterprises and people outside Canada are barred from buying residential property in this country for 2 years. The ban was passed by Parliament last June to help make housing more affordable. A limited supply, bidding wars, and skyrocketing costs have led to an unprecedented market. Violators could face fines of up to $10,000 and may be ordered to sell their property. As Sunwing faces a tidal wave of complaints over canceled flights, a Regina couple is sharing their story about the airline. Their upcoming destination wedding is now in jeopardy. As Brody Ratcliffe explains, the uncertainty is adding to what's been a tumultuous past few years.
It was so appropriate to propose at Leo's because we were there all the time.
Mandy Canning and Chad Claffey had been together for 5 years and were looking forward to walking down the aisle. Their plans quickly changed on December 29th.
I was actually almost in a daze, felt numb.
Sunwing canceled all operations to Regina and Saskatoon, putting the couple's magical day on hold. For many, this would be a stumbling block.
Are you ready?
But for the couple, it's another addition to a long line of obstacles.
I got up to go to the washroom and I was able to walk, and all of a sudden I barely made it to there and went completely numb.
That was in 2020, resulting in a trip to the ER and an 8-hour surgery. It had Chad struggling to move. With more pain, Chad was preparing for surgery number 2 and proposed to Mandy.
Knowing what was to come, what had happened after the first surgery, it was really needed.
As Chad made his way to the operating table for a 3rd time, the couple booked a package with Sunwing for their wedding in Mexico. With the worst behind them, the day they had long awaited finally arrived in January. Then more bad news. The trip of their dreams canceled.
I just wanted that day. I just wanted that day where, you have all your girls with you and all your friends and my kids, and my son was set to walk me down the aisle.
In a statement, Sunwing says it would refund all passengers with trips booked within 30 days. But Mandy and Chad say they are worried about getting their money back and have heard nothing from the airline. The couple is still hopeful they can find another airline to whisk them off to somewhere sunny where they can finally say, I do.
We've talked about, getting our wedding party together and just having a ceremony or, like a candlelit church at night or something, and that sounds beautiful, but I don't know. It just feels like
it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Brody Ratcliffe, Global News.
About 65,000 airline passengers are stranded in the Philippines after a power outage forced more than 300 flight cancellations. Trips to and from Manila were either delayed, canceled, or diverted. An unprecedented technical glitch caused the outage. It's now been fixed, but the backlog has created major delays. Turning now to the war in Ukraine and a new setback for Russia. Ukraine is suggesting it has killed hundreds of Russian soldiers in a New Year's Eve airstrike. It targeted a key building in the occupied Donetsk region. Russia claims only 63 people died. Either way, it is one of the largest mass killings of troops since Russia launched its invasion. Redmond Shannon reports.
The aftermath of a huge New Year's Eve airstrike on a school building used by the Russian army. It is about 10 kilometers inside Russian-held territory in Ukraine's Donetsk region. A strike so large that even Russia had to admit it took place. A military spokesperson saying that 63 Russian servicemen were killed by 4 US-made HIMARS rockets. Ukraine has claimed responsibility for hitting the building and said it is clarifying the death toll. Earlier Tuesday, Kyiv suggested as many as 400 Russian soldiers were killed.
There has to be some skepticism, but I think the fact that the Russians admitted that 63 died gives us an idea of the scope of the loss.
Prominent pro-Russian military bloggers claim that the building where the troops had gathered on Saturday night was also used as a storage for ammunition. The death of the Russian troops happened as Russian state TV broadcast a patriotic New Year's special.
Россия расширяется.
Featuring smiling military leaders in the audience. One Ukrainian MP told Global News the airstrike indicates extremely poor judgment from Russia's military to place so many soldiers in one place.
It shows that Russia is, Russian army is like a big dinosaurus, massive body and tiny head and very tiny brains inside.
Oleksiy Goncharenko spoke from a train en route to Kyiv, Ukraine's capital that continues to deal with nightly airstrikes targeting its energy infrastructure. Kyiv authorities claim they shot down 39 drones overnight. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
A somber day at the Vatican where tens of thousands are paying their respects to former Pope Benedict. Many began lining up before dawn to view the retired pontiff's body as it lies in state in St. Peter's Basilica. 12 hours of viewing are scheduled for tomorrow and Wednesday before the funeral on Thursday. As requested by Benedict, it will be a simple funeral led by Pope Francis in St. Peter's Square. Benedict died Saturday at the age of 95. Thousands also gathered in Brazil to say goodbye to soccer legend Pelé. Fans and mourners gathered inside the stadium. His coffin lies on the pitch where he scored some of his most spectacular goals. The wake will continue for 24 hours before Pelé will be buried in a private ceremony on Tuesday. Pelé died last week of cancer at the age of 82. And a different sports legend is also making news. Tennis champion Martina Navratilova has been diagnosed with throat cancer and breast cancer. The 66-year-old says both were caught early and she'll start treatment next week. Navratilova's first bout with breast cancer was in 2010. There's another star facing a health crisis. Coming up, the accident that's left popular actor Jeremy Renner in hospital. Oscar-nominated actor Jeremy Renner is in a Nevada hospital tonight in critical but stable condition. The 51-year-old was injured while plowing snow yesterday morning, according to his representative. It's still not clear what exactly happened. Police are still investigating and say the Avengers and Hawkeye star was the only person involved in the accident. When it comes to extreme weather in North America, 2023 is picking up where last year left off. Record-breaking rain has swamped Northern California. At least one person has died, and as Jennifer Johnson reports, the worst may be yet to come.
A frightening start to the new year for residents of Northern California. Roads and highways turned into rivers, leaving drivers stranded, some forced to stand on the roofs of their cars. Scientists blame a so-called atmospheric river storm for this historic drenching.
All of a sudden, my car went thud, dead. And I'm like in the middle of the river. And There's water all around me.
Rescuers saved Danielle Hibbett's life and dozens of others, some by land, others by helicopter, airlifting them before they drowned.
He was in the water for several hours before we were aware that he was missing.
San Bernardino County fire crews arrived just in time to rescue 3 people from this truck stuck in raging floodwaters. This was the wettest New Year's weekend on record for the area.
It was like Mother Nature came alive and declared war on Sacramento.
So much rain came down in such a short time, a levee in Sacramento broke, causing even more flooding. First responders are now breaking into submerged cars, hoping to find them empty.
We're still going basically car to car of these disabled vehicles along the highways and the roads and clearing them to make sure that nobody is inside.
Hundreds of homes also flooded. The ground is now so saturated, trees are falling. Thousands are without power.
It's completely obstructing the roadway and the walkway for pedestrians.
The wicked weather system also brought massive amounts of snow. Nearly 76 centimeters fell in 24 hours in the Sierra Nevada region. But some welcomed the precipitation to help drought-stricken California.
I'm very, very grateful for the rain, but maybe not so much so quick.
Others are just thankful they survived.
This is a new year I'll never forget.
A flash flood warning remains in effect as the storm system moves to Arizona. Meanwhile, officials are bracing for even more rain midweek in a state where dramatic and dangerous weather events have become all too common. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.
Ahead, the growing effort to help political prisoners in Iran. Nine BC MPs have signed on to provide political sponsorship to prisoners in Iran potentially facing executions. There has been 4 months of anti-government protests and mass arrests. Over the weekend, the regime's security forces reportedly detained several top-tier football players in a raid on a New Year's Eve party where alcohol was served, violating an Islamic ban. As Neetu Gutcha reports, Canadian MPs are among a growing number of lawmakers around the world using sponsorship to campaign for freedom.
Down with Islamic Republic in Iran!
The calls from Canadian protesters have been clear.
Freedom for Iran!
Among them, a commitment from political leaders to help prevent the executions of those condemned to death in Iran.
It's going to be on social media, it's going to be writing on their behalf, it's going to be speaking out on their behalf, doing the things that they would do had they had the opportunity to have their voice.
Talib Noor Mohammed is among the BC MPs who responded to those calls, with a joint letter saying they're appalled by Iran's wrongful imprisonment and execution of protesters, and they oppose the death penalty in all circumstances for all people everywhere, calling on the Islamic Republic regime to immediately establish a moratorium to halt all executions. Each of those MPs endorsing detained Iranians, including physicians and medical students, targeted for their support of the uprising. A total of 19 names, including Iman Navabi, a surgery resident, Mehdi Mimar Rast, a medical student, Fahime Karimi, a mother of 3.
It's amplifying their message, talking about who they are, talking about what they did that has got them in this position.
French Senator Nathalie Goulet tweeted at Noor Mohammed with an image of a prisoner in Iran saying, "We join you as sponsors of Mina Afshari, arrested on November 14th by the Islamic Republic regime for not wearing a hijab."
Parliamentarians all over the world are watching.
This German MP has been urging lawmakers around the world to join the effort to hold the Islamic Republic accountable.
And I think it's both the publicity right now that they don't want, but they also know that they have to take responsibility if they continue treating their prisoners and their own people so cruelly.
One of Iran's top-ranked female chess players now also a target. Sarah Khadem is reportedly planning to settle in Spain after she took part in an international tournament without a headscarf.
I follow Iran very closely, and I know that when prisoners have been sponsored, those that have been released will tell you that the sponsorship meant a lot, and that their interrogators backed off, and that they were afforded better treatment as a result of being remembered by Western politicians.
Their hope now is to continue the momentum so more lawmakers around the world help ensure the names won't be forgotten. Neetu Garcha, Global News.
Crowning moment. Next, how the coronation of King Charles could be different than his late mother's. The royal, formerly known as Prince Charles, has been called King Charles for a few months now, and in another few months his coronation will take place. It hasn't been held yet because a ceremony of this magnitude takes time to map out. Crystal Gamansing reports on the preparation, anticipation, and how this coronation will differ from his mother's.
With the new year comes new excitement for the new king.
It's so much like, and there are only 25 made, so I was very lucky. I got it down in London.
So when you saw that, what was your first reaction?
I thought it was fabulous, yes. I think it's a very good likeness. Even his hair is good, isn't it? You know what I mean?
From pieces of fine art to cheeky collectibles.
Did you think that looks like
Margaret Tyler's home in northwest London is a shrine to all things royal.
Tell me about your affinity, your obvious love for the royal family. When did that start?
I think it started when I was about 4 or something like that. My parents were great, real, liking the royal family, and so I picked it up off them.
Tyler jokes it takes her hours to dust all of the pictures, cups, plates, and dolls, and her collection is still growing. She'll be adding more this spring with the coronation of King Charles III.
Tell me what you're looking forward to with the coronation.
I think when they say their vows.
The vows, or coronation oath, will be taken by the king on a Saturday in the spring, May 6th in Westminster Abbey. The reigning monarch holds the formal position of Supreme Governor of the Church of England. Oath is their sacred promise to uphold the law and the church. Its exact wording varies depending on the sovereign. We don't know yet if the king will recite the same words he heard his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, vow in 1953 when he was just a boy. In early December, the St. Edward's crown was sent away to be modified for the king. The heavily jeweled, world-famous piece was moved from the Tower of London, where it was protected night and day. Soon, it will be at the center of the coronation, the crowning moment, once the king is anointed with holy oil, presented with the royal orb, coronation ring, and scepter.
King Charles will be the 40th sovereign crowned here at Westminster Abbey. Queen Consort Camilla will also play a role in the coronation. She too will be anointed and crowned just as the Queen Mother was in 1937 at the coronation of King George VI.
This is a very symbolic ceremony and is one of the last ceremonies that is of its class still in existence. There are many monarchies around the world still, but those monarchies do not have such an elaborate or grand ceremony such as the one for our sovereign.
Edward Wang is a Canadian royal observer. He attended celebrations in London marking the Queen's historic 70-year reign and returned in September to pay his respects after Her Majesty's death. Wang tells us he'll be back again soon for the coronation.
I'm very interested to see the invitees to the coronation and, whether they are given prominent seats just to showcase that, there is a transition period. I want to see representatives from the Commonwealth. I want to see, racial diversity, sexual orientation diversity, trans inclusion at the coronation.
Operation Golden Orb, as the coronation is known to those planning it, is expected to be a blend of the old with the new. Expect to see the Gold State coach once more, but the event will likely be a smaller affair with a shorter service, especially compared to Elizabeth's, which was a sprawling 3-hour event.
It's going to be exciting, I think, but I still wish the Queen was there.
It's a sentiment shared by many across the UK and the Commonwealth as her era ends and another begins. The ceremony to finalize that transition now just 4 months away. Crystal Gamanson, Global News, London.
And that's Global National for this Monday night. I'm Sonia Senger. Tonight's Air Canada is Pine Beach Park in Dorval, Quebec. We love seeing your Canada, so please keep emailing your photos to viewers@globalnational.com. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you again tomorrow. Have a great night.